Welcome to WildX. This is Rhonda Swan. I am so excited to have you here today. WildX is a platform for speakers to not only share their voice, their message, but to inspire the world.
Maria came to see me with a laundry list of symptoms. She was dizzy, lightheaded, overweight, weak, and fatigued. She had unusual, weird symptoms that just bewildered her and her doctors. She would react to so many different things. When she stood up, her heart rate would skyrocket to 140, 150. She saw dozens and dozens of healthcare practitioners. She even went to the Mayo Clinic for a consult, and they actually gave her a diagnosis. They said, "You have POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardic syndrome. When you stand up, your heart rate shots up. And you have likely mast cell activation syndrome." But they gave her no solutions. And so she kept searching, and she had seen so many people. It took her 15 years to find me. 15 years of hoping and heartbreak. 15 years of struggle. And it took her about 2 weeks to fill out my paperwork, and several weeks after that just to recover. And when she finally walked in, I had read her entire packet. She had sent 50 pages of history and questions. And I said to her, "I am not going to help you tell your story again." I said, "I see you. I see what you've been through. I understand. And I admire your persistence. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so grateful that you're willing to trust me and try again." So we did all the conventional things. I checked her labs. I figured out a variety of things. I put her on medications, finally, for POTS and mast cell. And then I did functional stuff. I put her on supplements. I changed her diet. I had her do nervous system retraining. We looked for mold and infections and environmental chemicals. And then I asked her a question that she had never been asked before. What gives your life meaning? And this is how I practice medicine. And in that appointment, that little spark that kept her going, that kept her searching, propelling her to find help, that spark grew a little bit brighter. That was 5 years ago. I saw her last month in the clinic. She had lost 50 pounds. She was exercising. And that little spark that I saw was now a raging fire. She had found her way back. She was glowing with joy from that light inside of her. And we all have that little spark, that little voice inside of us. And that is our connection to our purpose and our truth. But we forget. We don't always listen to that little spark. But when we do, magic happens. The medical literature tells us that purpose is one of the strongest predictors of health and longevity we've ever identified. Purpose helps us live longer. In a study in JAMA, 50% of people who had a higher sense of purpose had lower risk of all-cause mortality. In another study, people with a high sense of purpose had better glucose control, lower cholesterol, lower inflammation, and lower cortisol. People with a high sense of purpose had 35% lower fatigue, 43% less depression, and a 30% lower risk of dementia. That's pretty impressive. Purpose helps you live better. It even helps you live longer. That's not the only thing about purpose. Because when we're off from our purpose, our body lets us know. It speaks to us in symptoms because our body is not against us. It's not our enemy. It's not keeping score. It's speaking to us in messages and trying desperately to wake us up. But who is that message coming from? It's coming from who we really are, our purpose, our intuition, and it's trying to wake us up. I'm Dr. Kelly McCann. I'm a functional and integrative medicine physician. And what I've come to understand is that toxic burden, environmental chemicals, mold, toxins, these all things contribute a great deal to chronic illness. But more important than that, it's our disconnection from ourselves and our purpose. That is what really makes us ill. And so what I have found is that when we are disconnected from our purpose, when we're not living our truth, when we're not listening to that little voice, we develop symptoms. And wouldn't it be amazing if you could go to your cardiologist to deal with a broken heart? That would be crazy, right? But what if that heartbreak eventually turned into a heart attack? What if the repressed anger, the unexpressed anger that you feel, eventually became a migraine? What if not speaking your truth solidified as thyroid problems? Or if boundary issues manifested in autoimmune conditions? Wouldn't that be amazing if we could start to heal and think about our bodies, our emotions, our hearts, and our souls a little differently? Because purpose isn't just psychological, philosophical, or spiritual. It's physiological. And it's the part that leads us back to ourselves. I don't have a crisis of purpose. I know who I am. I know why I'm here. I am not just a doctor, I'm a healer. And I see people, and I know how to guide them on this journey back to themselves. But purpose isn't sacrifice. And living your purpose doesn't mean you sacrifice taking care of yourself. It seemed to me that purpose is a duality. There's the masculine drive and the feminine nurturing. And I was all about the drive, and I neglected the nurturing. And this drive for purpose and to build an empire, I forgot myself. I forgot that little voice. I ignored it. I wasn't listening. And as a result, I've nearly bankrupted my marriage. I've led to social isolation and aging, not exercising, not taking care of myself. And I realized that not only is purpose important, but so is self-love and self-care. And that's why I'm here today to talk about the Unforgetting Project, because we teach what we need to learn. We come in as babies and we're whole. and we know who we are. And then our families, culture, society tells us, no, this is how you should be. This is what is acceptable. And then we forget. We forget who we are, except for that little tiny voice, that little spark inside. So the unforgetting is removing all the obstacles, getting rid of all those untruths about ourselves that are not who we really are. So if you only remember one thing from today, remember to pay attention to your body, to listen to that little voice inside, and to let them lead you back to who you are. Because the greatest gift of healing is remembering who you are. Thank you.